All right. Welcome to FaBled Hunters.
I'm Yuanji.
I'm Saint.
And today we have a kind of new kind of concept that we're trying out. I don't think this channel's ever going to be like we're staying on top of the news all the time.
No, screw that. That's not happening.
Yeah.
Between your play schedule and my work schedule, that's impossible.
Yeah, but I think it is good to reflect on some of the things that are happening, especially last month.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff has happened.
So that's why we're going to call this segment Last Month, Today.
All right. I think going in chronological order, the very first thing that kind of happened was LSS posted videos of them in the office shredding.
Newson Zhang. Yeah.
He was shredding these.
He's a buddy of mine.
He's shredding gold tunics.
Yeah.
And these are gold tunics that they printed originally. Maybe they intended for distribution, but decided that they were not going to give out anymore after, I think, one of the callings in New Jersey, I think was the last one.
Yeah. Oh, you mean Shredgate. So basically, everybody's up in arms, mostly Magic players, and just outside, social justice warriors on the internet. Like, screw those people. First off, all companies that print these cards shred some number of their printed goods because they need to limit the population. They already announced that they'd have 50 in worldwide circulation of these tunics, and that's what gives collectors, the few of them that are left, faith and confidence in the market.
Well, I wanted to ask you about this because, so for example, Magic the Gathering, it's not like promos, but they originally printed however much, whatever, Alpha, Beta, Unlimited.
Yeah.
And then when the first Zendikar set came out, they said we have a bunch of these old, like, vintage cards in storage. So rather than destroying them, they decided to place them as kind of like lottery cards.
Yep, correct.
So how do you feel as like a collector, the fact that like LSS is kind of, I don't know if they're going to do this with like WTR, like presumably they have some amount of WTR alpha in stock, but like the fact that at least for these gold tunics, they have openly kind of just like told the collectors that they're destroying them.
That's it. And it's not even the first time they've destroyed tunics. I mean, presumably a sheet is about 120 tunics, and there's 50, and they destroyed 40. I think they destroyed some in the beginning, and I heard OGs like Matt Rogers and other people in the APAC region that are on top of it say that 2 years ago they already destroyed part of the population of the gold tunics. And then now I guess there were 89 left, so they had to destroy 39. And the people that are whining about destruction of value, I mean, first off, just remember this is a card game. This is not, global reserve currency. These tunics can't go out there and buy real estate or stocks. No. These are just tunics. They're valuable to collectors, and it's the collectors that say, oh wait, there's scarcity there. The scarcity that gives it perceived value to the collectors, and somebody has to go out there and pay 20, 25, whatever, thousands of dollars per tunic in the first place. So the liquidity is also questionable. So people saying, LSS shredded $1 million. No, LSS shredded their property to, keep their word, keep their guarantee that there would only be 50 tunics in circulation.
Yeah, I wanted to, bring up the context that you're alluding to. So basically, a lot of the criticisms were based around the fact that I think Saffron Olive might have been one of the first Magic content creators that kind of like reposted this. And I don't think he really necessarily meant anything.
No, I don't think so.
By his tweet, but a lot of people latched on, and they were kind of pointing to the fact that Findal Spring Tunic at the time, like a WTR Unlimited Rainbow Foil one, was maybe like $175 or whatever the price was at the time. And they were like, oh, like why is LSS destroying these promos when this card is so expensive?
Oh no, the starving fab players. There's starving fab players in Africa that need Findal Spring Tunics. Oh god, the humanity. My heart bleeds for them. Come on now, get a grip. This is a luxury good, and you're using, excess income, you're using excess disposable income to purchase this good, hopefully, or else I don't know what you're doing, right? And a $170 card that's key and integral to the game You know, destroying 39 copies of an elevated version of that card doesn't change the game at all.
I think one thing that I wanted to provide some context, if you are, I mean, I guess if you're not familiar with Flesh and Blood, I don't know how you managed to stumble upon this video.
Right.
But I think one of the things that Magic players don't really get the same perspective is that when you have an equipment card in Flesh and Blood, it's very similar to owning like a playset of like a staple.
Yeah.
Because you only need one.
You only need one, and you can only use one. You don't have two chests.
And throughout like the history of Magic, like plenty of times, even like in Standard, there have been times when like a staple Mythic is, I don't know, $30-$40, so a playset would be like the equivalent
160.
price.
Yeah,
would be equivalent price. So I think I wanna be welcoming to people who like aren't maybe necessarily as like familiar with how the economics of Flesh and Blood cards work. So
do we want Saffron Olive's zombie fans to be subscribing to our channel?
I'll take any side.
Oh, I guess. I mean, you'll take anybody. I'm selective.
I mean, the thing is, it's just that what you just have to understand that one, the promos that were shredded, there's no way that like an average person would ever get any of these. Like this is like
you have to win a championship to get a promo, and they said there's only 50. Think about like trophies that are made, or like Super Bowl rings. Guess what? There's only X amount of players, and only 15 players get Super Bowl rings. They have to, you know, kill the mold and kill the defective ones. That's
and I think while it is true that some legendaries in this game are quite expensive, I think it ebbs and flows. Like Findel Spring Tunic, even like a couple months prior, was sub like $100. I think, especially when when History Packs first came out, you could buy a History Pack Findel Spring Tunic for under $100.
Well, that's a whiteboarded crap.
But it also depressed the price of like WTR
Unlimited.
I think it was like 125. Crucible Unlimited was definitely when Crucible Unlimited, when History Pack came out, I think Crucible Unlimited was also under $100.
Okay.
For the black border non-full. I'm just like letting people know that.
Yeah. Speaking of that, since you're bringing it up, I just wanted to say that myself and some other collectors have noticed that there's only about 30 to 35 tunics in the market at any given time. We've been tracking it for a month. We're not buying any because we're not. I mean, I'm not the buyout type. What am I going to do?
Cold foil tunics.
No. Tunics on TCG.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like all 3 printings, you know, Crew, WTR, and White Bordered.
Yeah.
There's only 30 to 35 at any given time. And people are saying, oh, you know, there's too much Flesh and Blood out there. There is not. There's not that much. If you use Tunic as an integral card that almost every serious player can use, the fact that there are only 30 to 35 Tunics at any given time is indicative that I would say the market's not only healthy, the market might be slightly undersupplied with legendaries. And I was tracking it for about 30 days, and I'll continue to just monitor it. Maybe, you know, if there's too few tunics out there, I'll try to put some in circulation to help the market out.
All right. The second thing that is that we want to talk about is, and there's been some controversy, I think. People aren't sure like which way they feel. TCG player buying out Channel Fireball, announcing it publicly. Some people saying that it's good for the game. Some people saying maybe it's not good for the game. I've seen LSV tweet that one of the things that could be good for, I guess like not only Flesh and Blood, but for, I think he was speaking on like the greater TCG ecosystem in general, is that it seemed like TCG player was willing to put more capital behind like content creation or something like that.
Okay. Well, okay. You know, we've committed to releasing news about the goings on in the TCG space.
Yeah.
Let me just say that I might have been involved in a potential deal prior to the current acquirers of Channel Fireball, and it's very sad personally to me that we were very close to a deal in November of 21, and it was not until April of 2022 that though we fought valiantly, we didn't win the deal. Radiant Capital, Chidi Hansen, hats off to him. The better man won in that situation, and you know, TCG player won the deal. They also were willing to pay more, so in a capitalist society, the highest bidder wins.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think that they were the perfect acquirer because of the TCG Player software as well as binder posts, basically marrying those IPs and helping to consolidate and serve the LGS community that much more. I think that events being acquired by TCG Player is great. When I had oversight, or an understanding of the deal, events was never in the discussion. So that's great. They're expanding their scope. There's been some chatter from the interweb trolls out there saying that TCG Player also bought out the inventory. I believe that's the whole purpose of Card Shop Live, having an independent entity. So stop whining about WTR Unlimited. Card Shop Live retained a small little portion of WTR Unlimited and some other miscellaneous goods, and it's their right to. The people that are beating their chests looking for justice on the Fab print run or on the Fab global supply, you don't know anything. And you know what? The people that know stuff, people like myself, we've signed contracts and we're not really going to talk about it. TCG Player won. It was a better fit. The best party won. My hat goes off to John Sasso, Masha Scanlon, Ryan Darris, and the management team at former CFB. And I hope that the remnants, or whatever's remains from that management team, whatever assets remain, we can work together and make each other some money, I guess, right?
Well, I the only thing that I wanted to contribute is when you talked about binder POS, maybe to inform maybe people who aren't as familiar with the retailer side of how the businesses work. So binder POS is basically like a point of sale software that a lot of LGSs use to kind of keep track of their inventory, to conduct sales, accounting, whatnot. Channel Fireball is the company that created the software.
Binder POS,
or they acquired.
They merged. They merged actually.
And then they collected like a fee or whatever for you using it. One of the benefits of binder POS for the LGS is that they kind of have all of like the SKUs, all of the cards, whatever. It's like very integrated for TCG sales.
Correct. It's a POS software that's perfect for an LGS, and Binder Post just seemed to be really cutting edge and really aggressive in that space. I personally was very interested in that deal due to the POS because my background is payments and POS and integrating those payments and compressing that vertical stack to bring benefits to certain market types. In this case, LGSs, that would have been the goal. But again, TCG Player is much better in that space. I'm good at payments. They're good at TCGs, and they're already in payments, and they already have their own POS. So it was just a no-brainer for them to come in and take that deal.
Yeah, I think for the LGS owners, hopefully, one of the things that was always like a little bit annoying to when you're using binder POS is that even though it kind of synced with your TCG Player inventory, the interlocking wasn't perfect.
Yep.
And sometimes like you make sales on TCG Player, it doesn't like update in your own like inventory. So I think if anything, like TCG Player kind of having a hand in this now maybe makes it a little bit easier for all the business owners.
It stabilizes the market. I believe I've heard, and LGS owners can correct me if I'm wrong, there were LGSs out there that subscribed to TCG Player's software as well as binder POS software, and now instead of going to two places, they'll consolidate the benefits and the inventories and the SKUs, all that data into one, and it benefits the greater LGS community.
Yeah, this is kind of, I guess, related to the last point. There's also been some contention. So I think one of the parties that you alluded to was Compete Esport, and it was just recently announced that they were banned from GEM indefinitely, that they would not be allowed to host events anymore. And they put out a video on their weekly podcast, George and Louie. And then also, I think Fluke also posted kind of like a response. There's like, I guess like YouTube beef or like whatever going on. What do you think about And the Competing Sport wasn't the only store that was added.
Yeah,
to them.
correct. There was like 12 or 15 stores.
Yeah.
Competing Sport was just
Prodigy,
the one whining the
whatever.
loudest. They're trying to use the squeaky wheel method. And I mean, I don't mind George so much as an individual, but as a business owner that is critiquing other business owners that are higher up in the food chain, in the business food chain and the ecosystem than he is. And then on one hand criticizing, saying these people don't know how to run a business. I'd be better at running their business. And then saying, oh, I'm owed a phone call. That's like, I'm owed a phone call from James White. That's, that's inherent narcissism. And it's also an immense amount of entitlement. And LSS doesn't owe any of those stores anything. And just because you come out with a whiny video of, with your pitchfork mob, that doesn't make you somebody. The business was private, the email was private, and he chose to leak out those emails and play the virtue signal, woe is me victim card. And I mean, let me just put it this way. When you say you're committed to Flesh and Blood and you create a Flesh and Blood podcast, and although MetaZoo releases in July of 2021, you already have the MetaZoo colors and the MetaZoo design in your Flesh and Blood podcast since May of 2021, that signals, that heavily signals that you're deeply involved with interests outside of Flesh and Blood. When you are a Flesh and Blood podcast and you welcome the founder and owner of a competing IP to come on your programming for 1.5 hours, literally 90 minutes out of a 2-hour program, talking about not Flesh and Blood, then that is also signaling to other people where your interests are. I've always said in the past not to listen to what somebody says, but to look at their actions. And in this case, actions really spoke louder than words. I don't want to get into it and create a drama channel, because that's not what this news update is about. But that, along with what Fluke had mentioned about market manipulation, as well as think about who coined Mon to 1K. I was on multiple Mon to 1K calls. I was solicited to make certain market moves. I was actually solicited for the channel. And I've got phone logs. I could call Verizon and get phone logs of hour and a half conversations that happened between March of 2021 all the way to about August of 2021, when I was just rejecting any advances, rejecting any invites to collaboration. And you know what? LSS did the right thing. It is their business. There are people out there harming their business. If I was in James White's seat, which I'm not, I would probably do the same thing. I would have probably done it earlier, but I trust James White's execution and his wisdom in this situation. I'm a CEO myself, and I've got outside businesses, and sometimes you've got to be cruel. Sometimes you don't need to make any phone calls. You don't owe your clients anything, especially when your clients are diverting, attention and interests to other parties. And that's exactly what happened here. But I think I've spoken my piece. I don't want to say any more. Anger the pitchfork mob.
I think Fab with Freya wrote a good article kind of on the situation in general, where she basically said that whether you believe that it was right or it was wrong for LSS to ban Compete Esport, LSS doesn't necessarily owe them preferential treatment over any of the other stores that they banned. So when you, like, for whatever reason that they deem you are removed from the gem program, they didn't owe, like, the guy who was, like, threatening to fight whatever his there was, like, some store owner, I think it was like Lucky TCG or something.
Yeah,
it was like one of the first stores that were like,
he threatened a patron. He didn't. I mean, James White isn't going to be like, "Hey, you messed up. I'm really sorry, but I got to pull your gem." It's like
he's not going to
cut.
He's not going to
you cross. You cross the line. Yeah. What the hell?
They don't owe their business partners,
their business associates.
Like if you do something that they deem as, like, inappropriate, like, I mean, it's a private business, right? Like, they can.
You can get cut off.
So I think in that sense, I kind of agree with that take, where just because this store is more influential, it doesn't necessitate preferential treatment. Yeah,
the old J-Dubs would made sure somebody woke up with a horse's head.
Oh man. Okay, a little bit more positive news.
Let's get to that.
LSS announced that they were doing a partnership with PCG.
PCG grading?
Yeah.
Yep.
And this is kind of for all of their tournament promos going forward. I believe it's only at the at the calling level and up, maybe at Battle Hardened. I don't think that PCG is, like, pre-grading, like, ProQuest whatever gold foils, although I might be wrong about that. But basically the idea is that for all of the, like, random gold foils that you get at callings right now, you know as well as I do that, like, a lot of these, like, there's some issues.
Edge damage, there's some surface damage, there's some scuffs, there's some dents that literally impact the value of the card, and it's pretty feels bad when you put in a 6 to 10 or even 2 or 3 day session. I don't know if tournaments run 3 days yet. Have any of them?
Yeah.
They have?
Like US Nationals.
Okay, Nationals, for example, 3 days. And you put in anywhere from half a day all the way to multiple days to try to win a tournament, and you get a prize that's damaged. That so feels bad, and I literally spoke to James. They were sitting in this couch. They're like, "What's this about that video you made trashing the quality of our promos?" And I'm like, "Gentlemen, I don't mean to be, dickish about it, but see for yourselves." And I laid out about 15 promos, and they're like, "Oh, I see. There really is a problem here. There's a problem with people getting lower quality goods due to manufacturer defects." And although I would say that the market reaction was generally positive, there were some saying, "Oh, well, it takes out the randomness. It's bad." It's like, and most of those people whining aren't the people that have put in hours at the table and, fried their brains just trying to make the right plays, play after play after play, round after round, hand after hand. And the people that made the right plays and have ascended to become champions of that event, guess what? The spoils goes to the champion, and they want some good spoils. They want to have the highest chance of liquidating or creating some sort of monetary value for their spoils if they choose not to keep them. And by PCG pre-grading, it's only pre-grading. It's like they just want to make sure, PCG just wants to make sure, look, this card looks like a 9 or better to us. They're not saying 9, they're not saying 9.5, they're not saying 10, they're not saying quad, none of that, just 9 or better. That's it.
Yeah, actually, the champions cards for the callings, like the Crown of Providence.
Well, the top. I'm talking about the general. Yeah, you're right.
Those are going to be actually graded, and those kind of are guaranteed to be 9.5, like so gold label or better. I actually have maybe a little bit different opinion on this. So, my opinion, as somebody who does try to win these cards,
and successfully has one.
I think that it is overall a good thing that LSS is partnering with PCG to kind of improve the quality control of their promos. I think that the direction that they took in terms of having the Crown of Providence, especially be pre-grade, be like graded as like a slab that you win, or having PCG kind of put their grade on it, that I'm not as fond of.
Okay.
Only for the reason that I think that it's true that maybe like it doesn't feel as good at the time when you win like one of these tournament promos, for it to be like maybe like some issue with it. But then as you also have said in the past, if everything is special, then nothing is like really special. And so if all of the Crown of Providences are already like encased 9.5, like there's no like real difference between like any of them. They're all like 9.5.
I don't think you understand the distinction though. Like you've gone to CFB events, or you've gone to FAB events worldwide, and you've seen that print sheet, right?
Yeah.
So there's a cold foil print sheet where there's about, I think it's 11 by 11, or 11 by 10. Chris G personally told me, I forgot the number, but there's 100 to 120 of one card printed on that print sheet. So what they do is they cut down that print sheet per standard size TCGs, and they grade the 100 to 120 cards. And what they're going to do is first come, first serve. First off, there's variance within those cards. So the top one might even have a very small chance of being a black label or 10. Then it goes down to 9.5 quad. Then it goes down to 9.5 basic. And they're basically just creating that, they're grading all 120, let's call it, or reasonably, within reason, 120, and they're keeping the top ones. And, I mean, how many top Crown of Providences are there really?
No. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, but I just wish that, I think part of me just wishes that instead of, like, if they had just announced that they were doing a partnership with PCG to improve their quality control, I would have liked that more than actually having PCG graded.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
But they're only grading like the top 10.
No, I know.
Right?
It's like a very minor like distinction. I think for me, this is more like more psychological than anything.
Okay. I see it. And you know what? Yuanji is one of the few people in the world that have the right to weigh in, because he's actually out there competing and winning this stuff. So, you know what? Your opinion makes sense. But, I mean, I think we would all both agree that at least call it a majority, a 60, 70, 80% percentage of that whole initiative should be very positive for the game.
They're
agree. Destroying all the bad copies, the copies with dings.
I agree. I think in general, improving the quality of their tournament promos is something that I want them to do. I'm not in the camp where like, I want them to give people like shitty promos. That's not. I don't know.
You don't want to receive a shitty promo.
I don't know if that's how it came across, but it's for me. It's just like actually having PCG grade them. That's the only thing.
I would say that a 9.5 would at least guarantee some sort of condition premium to the winner of these events.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, the next topic. This is something that you posted. I'm not too familiar, but you're saying that right now the market kind of is overpricing promos somewhat.
Well, I'm just bringing it up because there was a little bit of an uproar about a certain, I think it was a battle-hardened winner, posting a full art Crown of Providence for $50,000.
Oh no, that's the most recent calling winner.
Most recent calling winner, $50,000, and I'm like,
he's the only person who's gonna have a non-PCG graded 9.5 Crown of Providence for whatever that's worth.
For whatever that's worth. That's the first full art. I thought they were giving away Crown of Providences at. They gave it away at the Calling in Las Vegas, the team.
No. Calling Las Vegas for team, you get like a random gold foil promo. Utrecht is the very first calling that you get a Crown of Providence extended art. And
what did the number one team Blitz team
you just got like random.
They just got random, even first place?
Yep.
I thought that team was Crown of Providence.
Random.
It was random. Okay, well, he's got the one Crown of Providence, and he's out there selling it, attempting to sell it for $50K. I think he's lowered it down to $35.
Okay.
And it just reminded me of that guy in Europe who had the 1000 XP a year ago, and he was spamming everybody with his, I think, gold foil carrion husk, and he was giving sob stories about why, spamming sob stories about why we should give him $30,000 for his gold foil carrion husk.
Okay.
It just brought that back, and I'm like, guys, I've said this at a table of calling winners, like multiple. I've sat at multiple tables of calling winners and, Nats winners, and I'm like, guys, these promos need to scale somewhat into the base prices of the original cold foils.
Sure.
Because these promos are utility based. And right now, I don't think there's one bigger utility card or one bigger piece of gear that's integral to any collector or player than the Findell Spring Tunic. Therefore, the gold foil tunic has a certain, let's call it a certain premium. It's like 5 figures.
Yeah, the art on the extended art Findell Spring Tunic is also just, I think, in general has.
It's one of the most beautiful pieces ever.
Yeah. I think part of me, I was a little bit disappointed when I first saw the art for Crown of Providence. Not because it's bad art, but because when they announced that they were going to do extended out Crown of Providence, it's like the hat is sitting on like a little like stand. It's like
it's just more to the stand, right?
It's like different than the Findell Spring Tunic, where there was like
it's
some
a
mystery.
Beautiful dancing woman, and you see her face.
Well, the original Findell Spring Tunic, there was some mystery. Like you didn't know who the character was.
You just knew it was female, and you saw a bust, and now you saw like her face all the way down to her waist. It's different. I think there's a difference. There's a difference, absolutely. But I'm just talking about as a collector. Like the gold foil tunic is proportional to the cold foil tunic, and I would say there's certain, let's say whatever that number is, the gold foil is worth 5x of a cold foil.
Okay.
But the cold foil is in the 4-figure range, so it scales differently. It's kind of like an ungraded MTG unlimited mox versus like a 9.5 quad unlimited mox. But the base value, the base thing that you're valuing it at is the raw near mint unlimited mox. Mm-hmm. So I'm saying that a gold foil should have some sort of value. And if the cold foil is only worth $200 or $300, sure, let's call it 10x, let's call it 15x, because the cold foil is only worth $100 or $200.
Sure.
15x is $3,000.
Yeah.
But there is no world where the cold foil is worth $100 and the gold foil is worth even 10,000. Forget about 50 or 35,000. It's not even worth 10,000. It would be lucky if it was worth 2,000. Like Stalagmite, when it first came out, I remember people asking for 10,000, then 8,000, then 7,000. The gold foil Stalagmite, and now there's one being unsold on the market for $1,300. It's literally sitting on Facebook. It's like, if you guys want to join the Facebook graded marketplace or high-end marketplace or North American marketplace, go grab it. $1,300 is a good deal for Stalagmite, but that's where it needs to be. What is a Stalagmite worth right now?
I don't know.
Cold foil. $100?
Maybe.
Okay, 13x on a 3-figure card. I can accept.
Yeah.
Like a 3-figure multiple, 100x plus, I can't accept that. And whoever's out there, you're great at fab, but you're probably making a fool out of yourself right now. And I'm personally hearing from different PMs that it's outrageous.
I think this is maybe a sneak peek to some of the content that we did on Long Game.
Yeah.
But I had mentioned in the past, there's like, you need to have like certain like realistic expectations of when you receive these like tournament promos. Mm-hmm. I think there's the paradigm beforehand. So like when we're in 2020, like peak like COVID, like the money is like,
the money machine go bird
like whatever. There's like, that's like one world, and then the world that we live in right now is obviously very different, right?
Dystopian zombie apocalypse.
Well, just in terms of like finances.
That's what I mean. As a card market, compared to Money Machine Go Burr, this is a post-apocalyptic Fallout era of TCGs and our greater economy.
Yeah, and that's not to say that I don't think that these tournament promos would. If you told me that the Crown of Providence at some point in the future would be worth, I don't know, $20,000-$30,000, I wouldn't call you crazy.
Like maybe 20 years from today,
sure. But like now.
But now, when it's still being printed, when more is still coming out, I wouldn't even pay $5 for it, honestly. So
I think we'll have to see how much of a bump you get as being like only given out to calling winners. Mm-hmm. But like that being like, that being said, like since it's only awarded to calling winners, there is much fewer of them. But I will say that there's like a big difference between asking for 50K when the last like extended art tunics were being sold for like half of that, or less.
Or less. Yeah.
So I think there's some of these tournament promos are probably a little bit overpriced. Some are probably underpriced.
Yep.
If you want to like really like dig into it. But I guess that's the story.
Yeah, that's the story.
Now onto some gameplay related news.
That's all him.
Right now in Classic Constructed, a lot of people's kind of sentiments on Twitter, especially following the Stubby Hammers ban.
Yeah.
People are kind of saying that this is the most diverse that the format has been in quite a long time. I think kind of what's contributing to that is the fact that Chain Living Legended out, and Chain was kind of suppressing a lot of decks from being good. Like they were just not fast enough to deal with Chain.
Okay. And Chain, with all that card draw, I've always felt Chain was cheating because Chain gets all those extra cards.
Yeah, it's like a combination. So like Fi's damage output right now, for example, is like similar to like what Chain could do.
Yeah.
However, Chain also has cards like Carry On Husk, which insulate him from being disrupted in the same way that Fi
they give him extra life. Yeah. Fi essentially can't block, right?
Yeah, it's like for example, like nowadays, not to get like too involved in the gameplay because this isn't like a purely gameplay channel.
Yeah.
But
not at all.
But Bravo, Showstopper, or Oldham, one of the tools that they had against Chain is you want to hit them with a Spinal Crush. Well, the first Spinal Crush is always going to get blocked by Carrying Husk.
Yeah.
So you have to take a bunch of damage to play your Spinal Crush, and the first one is just not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Whereas if you play against Fi, like Fi doesn't have like a huge armor chest piece, so
no.
I mean, I think
he could throw all his gear to block, which would be really detrimental, and he wouldn't even block 6, right?
You could, if you're playing Flame Scale Furnace, you could block 6, but you have to give up everything.
Everything, yeah, and you're basically dead in the water. No card draws, no triggers, no nothing, right?
Yeah. So I think that it is quite interesting that we're entering, I guess, like a new, not like a new era of Fab, but like a new.
I would say it's a new era. It's Fab 2.0, and then the gameplay is also gameplay 2.0. There's no disruptive Briar. There's no boogeyman Chain. There's no waifu Prism's gonna take it all, right? All of that is kind of, I'm not gonna say fully behind us. The worst was Starvo, where I'm playing Starvo and I'm getting wins at the Pro Tour. Like, what type of reality is this, right? What type of bizarro world is this?
Don't sell yourself too short. Maybe you have what it takes. I think that it is quite interesting. I wonder how Flesh and Blood is going to develop forward, because I think that there's a lot of heroes that feel like they're just like missing like a little bit of something to make their decks a little bit more complete. And so it is kind of cool to see that there are a lot of decks that people are looking at as being viable.
You're absolutely right. I mean, just these past couple days, I started hearing buzzings of Dorinthebe, like being back in meta.
Oh, Dorinthebe is actually pretty good in it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Dorinthebe's back, and she's got some upgrades, and she's got a glistening steel blade that gives her go again and threatens counters, and against folks like Fi and other and Briar and other aggro, I think she's actually accumulating counters, and if she snowballs fast enough, she actually stomps, right? So that's what I'm hearing. Like, Dorinthebe was not viable in a full Prism meta, and we're about to conclude any Prism era, right?
Well, we'll have to see. You're kind of jumping into our next topic of discussion. So Prism is actually 2 points short of Living Legend.
998.
So it'll be kind of interesting. Prism was never the most popular deck in CC. However, she's very strong because
she was for a little bit, right? Like right after Tyler Horspool won, wasn't she? Didn't she surge to become number 1 for a little bit?
Yeah, but Prism always struggles against dedicated aggro decks, so it's always kind of tough to play Prism into like Chain, Briar, Viscerai, what have you now against Fi. Like,
and Prism
it's tough.
Just stomps Guardians, right?
Yes.
Prism's great at stomping Guardians.
Yeah, and so that's kind of, there's always like a little bit of there's like a kind of like triangle where you have Guardians that are pretty good against aggro, and then aggro is really good against Prism. Prism is good against Guardians.
Mm-hmm.
You have this like little triangle that's forming, and I would say that like the meta right now is not like pure triangle, because there's like all these like decks that are good against, like, maybe you can have gameplay against like two out of the three.
Yep.
So it'll be kind of interesting to see how it shakes out. I would be pretty surprised, honestly, if Prism does Living Legend before the Pro Tour.
Really?
Yeah. Even if Prism does hit Living Legend, she won't be out of the format until after the Pro Tour. That's when the next.
Oh, really?
That's when the next ban restricted. It's right after the Pro Tour.
Okay.
But I would be surprised if she got to 1,000 points.
She's only 2 points away.
Yeah, but
you're saying the meta is so diverse that it's hard for Prism to break through. Right
yeah,
now,
the only events that are left, I think, are maybe like one Battle Hardened. There's the Calling in Singapore.
Okay.
And there's also the Pro Tour, and then the Calling at the Pro Tour.
So
before the
things like skirmishes and whatnot.
Skirmishes, Blitz and Sealed.
Oh, oops. So what about armories? What are there any other events that give out points?
No. It's just the
Battle Hardened and Up and ProQuests, right?
Mm-hmm.
But is ProQuest season over?
Yeah. It's over. Occasionally they road to National. Yeah, the next big event after the Pro Tour would be Nationals. So I think it's kind of interesting. A lot of the aggro decks, like Fi, is at the top of everyone's minds right now as being like the most popular deck, and so
yeah,
I think that I personally would be pretty surprised if Prism hit 1,000, and maybe Prism will stick around for another season after the Pro Tour.
Yeah.
I think overall, in general, I think Prism is pretty good for the game, because it does keep. You can't just have people like only playing Guardians, because they might just get like swept by Prisms. We'll see. Dromai kind of fills in the shoes.
Kind of? Really?
Yeah. They're like Dromai doesn't do as well against Oldhim as Prism does. Prism just like completely beats Oldhim. But I think in general, I'm pretty excited to see what LSS comes out with next after, like with Dynasty as being the next set, to see like where we go, if we can continue this, I guess, like play environment. I think it's pretty good overall for the sake of competitive play.
Okay, looking forward to it. Yeah.
And I think that's all of the topics that we were going to talk about today.
But there's one other thing.
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to take this time to mention to people, to the viewers of the community. I've always heard that about 70% of the community in Flesh and Blood has some Magic adjacent experience.
Mm-hmm.
At the very minimum, over half. And I just wanted to double down at this time and say that I believe I made the right choice in supporting Flesh and Blood. The player base is growing, and the gameplay is amazing. The mechanics and art are amazing. The community is great, minus a couple of mishaps that aren't our most glorious days, like what we did to certain content creators opening boxes, and other things. Going about almost everything. Come to think of it, and anyways, that's not the point. Point is, it was the Double Masters and Modern Horizons and Ultimate Masters days that made me really, really unhappy about the progress of Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
And what I said then still holds. Ever since then, they came out with Commander Legends using the same, box topper type art, Commander Legends 2 Baldur's Gate, which was a flop. They did Double Masters 2, which just printed chock full of, value, and they're just trying to, all WotC wants to do is to access the lowest common denominator, the LGS goers' wallets, and exploit their wallets for as much money as possible. Meanwhile, Flesh and Blood is still at $90 a box instead of like $400 or more a collector's box. Uprising is the only product out there, and it's equally accessible to everybody. So that's kind of what's going on. And now the next set, Dominaria, they're finding MTG Legends boxes. They find
That's
pallets
like half a pallet or
of
a pallet.
whatever, half a pallet or a pallet. I literally counted, I think, 60 boxes of Legends sitting on a WotC conference table. And not only that, they're doubling down on virtue signaling, and not only are they banning all of the Woke 7 cards, they're like, oh, I don't know why we can't find any of the Harold McNeil cards. Maybe we just didn't print them. Maybe it's like Back to the Future where Marty McFly just disappeared from existence and they're being cute about it. And I look at WotC as a company, and what they say is they virtue signal, we're about the people, but their actual actions are, look, let's manipulate the people, treat them like, mindless sheep, and just push product down their throats month in and month out. And I'm really happy that there's the game of Flesh and Blood as an escape from that BS that that Hasbro is executing upon right now, because there is no shining fate, there is no light at the end of the tunnel. WotC is just going to crush collectors and supporters' souls, set in, set out. And again, I'm just thankful, and I want to double down on my support for James White, Legend Story Studios, and their vision of Flesh and Blood, because we're the rebels here. We're the good guys. We're the guys with the blue lightsabers trying to fight, trying to spread this game, and trying to be that light that is an alternative to just succumbing to the evil empire of Wizards of the Coast in 2022. I don't know if viewers, hopefully the Fab fans agree and they already know what type of game this is, what type of meta this is. And please, viewers, like, comment, subscribe, talk some smack down there. If you don't like something I said, I don't care either way. But do let us know how this episode of Last Month Today went for you. All right?
Yeah, I can't guarantee there's always going to be a month's worth of stuff to talk about. This month there's a lot, but we'll see. We'll revisit this news segment
in August, right?
Yeah.
Or on August news.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's it for now, guys. Bye.